10, 9, ignition sequence starts. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to the Alien Probe Podcast. Today is November 5th, Saturday, 2022. I'm Doug. Joined again today is Dr. Bill. We're going to play a little excerpt from something Mary, a friend from Facebook, sent us, and she had a long discussion. Mary's had some experiences that she'd like us to share on the show, but she sent us this. It's a 700-year-old human-looking aliens gives George Van Tassel the formula to create a time machine.
You've been on television 350 times, and I've known you. I met you once 7 years ago, and I kind of like you. And you know what the people out there are saying. They're saying this man's a...
Well, Jack, you know, when Fulton was running his steamboat up the Hudson River, there were people still standing on the bank saying it couldn't be done.
All right, let me take you for a back, though. You have a time machine plan. You have done experiments which show you can bring the past to life. Where did this formula come from?
I love that Scotch accent. Jack, the formula came from a ship that landed at my airport in 1953 on August the 24th, which had 4 people aboard it that came from another planet.
I'm breathless.
Well, you're not only breathless, I was breathless.
But I'm cynical, too.
Well, that's fine. That's the way to be. In fact, I'm a bigger skeptic than you are of many things.
I'm an unbeliever. Convince me that this really happened to you.
Well, this thing is very similar to a thing that's happened in our biblical records where a Lord presented Moses with a pattern to build a tabernacle. They came out of the sky, they handed him stone tablets, and this phenomena that's taking place today is as old as our history, as our civilization. This isn't anything new that's occurring. It's something that's being continued in another time of crisis when conditions affecting the people of this planet are reaching a point where somebody has to take care of the situation.
Now, I don't intend in any way to be disrespectful or blasphemous, but do you feel, and I know you're not an evangelistic type, do you feel that you're some kind of Moses receiving a new word?
Well, I don't say that, Jack. I say that what is occurring now has occurred before. There's many records of these ships landing throughout history, clear back into Sanskrit. And there are records in the 1898 Chicago newspapers that covered the front page for 3 days of a big ship setting over Chicago. When you realize we're dealing with a type of man that is almost as far above us in intelligence as we are above the lower animals, there isn't anything phenomenal in this at all.
Now, you say casually, because this is your life's work now. Yeah. You mean flying saucer, don't you?
Well, a flying saucer was a name the press put on this thing. And actually, what they termed a flying saucer was nothing but a scout ship from the big carriers.
But I want to go back to that 1953. Tell me, where did this happen for people who haven't had you talk or seen you yet?
It happened on my airport, which I've operated for the last 16 years, at Giant Rock Airport, 17 miles north of Yucca Valley in California, or 40 miles north of Palm Springs.
Now, this is a private airport, is it?
Airport used both by the military and private aircraft.
You own this airport?
I leased this airport from the United States government. I've operated it for 16 years since I retired from the flight test business in the aviation.
Right now. How old are you now, by the way, John?
I'm 54, Jack. Got 3 grown daughters married and 11 grandchildren.
You don't mind if I ask you the stock question? I know that you've been asked every obnoxious question that can ever have been asked. You've never been treated for any form of emotional upset.
I've never had an emotional upset other than women.
Except that night in Yucca Flats, and not Yucca Flats, a Giant Rock, when this ship appeared. Now, give me the details, George, because I'm never tired of hearing the details of a man who says he has seen creatures from another world.
Well, actually, Jack, this was as simple as crossing a street and getting hit by a car. After it's over, you're the victim of the circumstance. And I didn't see the ship land. One of my son-in-laws, that wasn't my son-in-law at that time, saw it come down. Another man on the airport heard it, and he wasn't where he could see it. And The man got off of the ship and approached me before I even knew there was a ship down.
Where were you then? What time of day or night was it?
2 o'clock in the morning and approximately a full moon, which is like daylight on the desert.
Were you walking about outside or what?
No, I was sound asleep when he awakened me.
This man awakened.
Well, something awakened me.
So you got up out of your bed.
I got out of my bed and went aboard the ship at his request.
This man, in what language did he converse with you?
He talked to me in the best English equivalent to Ronald Coleman.
And he met you there and he said, what did he say? Come with me to my ship or what?
No, he said, I asked him what he wanted because we have a lot of people come in stuck in the sand and broken axles and whatnot. And I asked him what he wanted, and he said, my name is Soganda, and I would be pleased to show you our craft.
Soganda?
Soganda.
Was the craft visible to you at this time?
It was when he stated this, I saw beyond him the ship, which I hadn't seen before.
What did you see?
A bell-shaped type of anti-gravity ship that they operate as a scout ship out of their big carriers.
How big?
This was 36 feet in diameter and 19 feet high.
And where was it? On the ground?
No, it was hovering 10 feet off the ground.
And how did you go into this ship?
I walked with him to a spot underneath it, and an anti-gravity beam took me up through a hole in the bottom.
You're telling me at 2 o'clock in the morning in Giant Rock Airport, you walked underneath this hovering ship, and whammo, you went up
No,
inside.
you didn't go whammo. You went just about as slow as a local elevator.
And when you got off the anti-gravity elevator, what did it look like?
I was inside of a ship about 18 feet in diameter and roughly 10 feet high to the domed ceiling, and there were 3 men on the ship, besides the one that had got off and invited me aboard.
You keep calling them man. What do you mean, man?
Well,
Little green man?
They were about 5'6". They came about to my eyebrows, and they could have walked in our clothes down any of our streets, and we wouldn't have paid any attention to them.
And did you bring any proof off that ship? Were you alone in the ship?
I was alone with the 3 men until the other fellow came up behind me, and then the 4 of them were aboard.
Were there any other earthly eyewitnesses to this?
Nothing on the outside of the ship.
And these people stayed outside?
On the airport.
And did you go anywhere in this ship?
Not to my knowledge. When I got off, it was the same place it was when I got on.
What do you mean, not your knowledge? Had the door closed when you went in or something?
I don't know, because it was below the deck.
And did these people tell you where they came from?
They didn't say where they came from, but I've been in the air game since 1927, and their instruments were unlike anything I'd ever seen before.
Well, don't give me technicalities. What was different?
The difference was that we used dial instruments, and they used vertical instruments, like fluorescent tubes with marks on them.
What color were these people?
The instruments were marked in symbols similar to hieroglyphics. They were not in any language or number system we use on the Earth.
What color were these people?
They looked like they were white people with a good, healthy tan.
Did they give you any indication of how old they were or what they ate or where they came from at all?
After we got off the ship, the man who invited me aboard, who didn't look a day over 28 years of age, told me that he was over 700 years of age in our time.
Oh, come off it, George.
That's right.
Was this the guy who gave you the formula for the time machine?
That's the man.
And what form did the formula take? Did he implant it in your mind by telepathy, or did he give you something written in English?
He spoke it to me verbally.
And you remembered this?
There's nothing to it to remember.
Will you tell me now? The
Yeah.
formula for the time machine.
Equals 1 over T.
F equals 1 over T.
F being frequency and T being time.
And this enables me to go back to the time of Caesar's armies conquering Britain.
Well, it would enable a mathematician to work this out, yes.
And why hasn't this been acclaimed like Einstein's E equals MC squared?
Well, why hasn't the fact that the United States government's been flying anti-gravity ships since 1956 been acclaimed? Or the fact that there's a crater on the moon with a base in it since 1954, we've known.
So that's I don't know if that guy's last name is John something. Mary sent that over, and she's made this statement. I've met these people that is described here. If you want, I can tell you more of what happened. I've invited Mary to come on the show. She's communicating with us through, not telepathy, but through the Facebook Alien Probe podcast page. And here's the scoop. I was in my late teens. I was always curious on how the homeless people lived, so I volunteered myself into that lifestyle. I was shadowing this one other person, but soon found out that the person was really not nice, and now I was trapped. But I'm humble, and that's a part of the experience doing all of that. I lived on the streets for 4 years, and wow, I saw a lot. But you never know how it is till you jump in. That part is to set the stage. I was able to finally take a walk by myself, which was unheard of because I was always in control by my head. I don't know what that means, but so off I went to take a walk in the long park with lots of green grass and beautiful trees. Because I like trees. And this park was in the city, so many blocks long, too, with streets in movement and lots of city noise. I saw a family farther down the path. They had this different air around them, like like a feeling around them. They didn't carry stress. It felt like they just got out of the compartment. That was it for a while, and they are happy to be out. It's best to go at things of how you feel out the situation, because the eyes can deceive. They all were in a group, all tall, with white hair and long too. I'm like, that's so beautiful that the teenagers have white hair too, girls and guys. The clothing looks comfortable, movable. They all ran with a swift, graceful way. I saw one girl close up, the body structure the same as ours, yet a little different, taller with all white hair. Also, her chest was more flat. I could see that the bone structure, like fat, wasn't really there. She had two bumps a bit below her. I don't know what the bone was called. There's this bone we have, it goes from shoulder to the base of the neck. But under the bone, one each side, they all have an extra bump, showing that as humans don't have. That's when it's nope, they aren't human. But me, it's okay because strange and anything not normal always follows me around. I'm like a magnet. The kids, they seemed to be teenagers. They all ran around doing cartwheels, all very graceful and strong, legs too. So I walk up to the older man, the same as them, but his face was very broad looking, more weathered too. Figured that figured that's the dad, had high cheekbones. I approach him. He kind of steps back, but I stop there. I gave him his space, very important to do. Told him that he has beautiful kids. They run around so graceful and they are so beautiful. It was true. But I had to also say to him that I'm not a threat, and my focal point is me saying your family is beautiful. He still kept his body stance to being tall with broad shoulders, about 5'9" tall. And I still had to look up. He didn't want to talk. So I asked, "Where are you from?" He said, "Where?" And me not really familiar from where's what. The name sounds like one area of the map. I guess he didn't really say that she understood. In my mind, I picture long fingernails, long nails. There's Norway, then two other ones, I think Sweden too. He was cold all over, but the name took me to that part of the globe. So something like Norway, because my brain always forgets names, just not my thing. As he said it, he had a deep old voice, like it had been around a long time. Like a really long time, just that feeling I felt from it. Then I noticed that all out and about movement wasn't happening. All sounds wasn't there. I asked him, "What kind of foods do you eat?" He said in a deep voice, "I wouldn't like it if I told you. You wouldn't like it if I told you." So I let my body relax and let the answer reveal itself to me. But as I came to it, he could not put anything on it. I don't know what that means. The feeling I got was them having on blacker than black cloth on like a robe with a hood and a circle like a calf and a human in the middle. That's when he looks up to his kids. They all stop in mid tracks. They all turn around, start walking toward him. He steps back. That's my nonverbal of it's time to go. They communicate telepathically just as the Greys in the past has talked to me when I was a kid. Because when I was a kid, they went into their ships. But back at the park, they are walking to him. I'm walking away. There's these two tall trees on either side of the sidewalk I'm on. As I walk past the trees, that's when I hear all the sounds again. All movement is now being seen. I look behind, and just like that, they are gone. No cars driving by, nothing. What my insides say, to me, it felt like their ship flew away. He did say they lived far away. Then just a bit, always there was the one other homeless guy just sitting, so I'd approach him and said, "Hey, did you see that?" He said, "What?" I said, "Those people over there, they were just doing cartwheels and running around." He said, "No." Asked, "How long have you been sitting there?" And he said, "All day." So I felt like I was kind of in a time bubble. There's more about her experiences, but that's kind of what she conveyed, in relation to the opening that we just had. So I don't know. Mary's a really interesting lady. I want to have her on the show, Bill, but we're having a little trouble
Well, that's
making a connection.
that's up to her. So have you heard of this George Van Tassel before?
No, did you look him up while we were sitting there?
No, I don't want to. I'll look him up later.
He's the interviewer, right?
He
Or
was.
is he the guy talking? I thought the guy was John or something that was talking.
There has been. I've heard about this giant rock thing, and there's actually audio of Ruppelt going to Giant Rock and talking to people. And the guy,
really?
Ruppelt, yeah.
Wow.
And this guy, once he'd left, I think the Air Force and was, a civilian, he went to check it out. And there used to be, it's out in the Mojave, and there was, tons of people would be there, and tables would be set up, and lots of people talking about their alien encounter experiences and all sorts of stuff. And then the guy, I don't know if this Van Tassel was the guy that was interviewing him, or was the guy that was ran the airport there. He had built a geodesic dome, and was building, that was supposed to be a time machine, and had been constructing it. Nothing ever happened from that, or else they just disappeared. I don't know. But yeah, that was a big deal. Giant Rock was a big deal in the 50s for UFO place to go. And another thing for the growing list.
And did you run that formula, Bill? Is it good? Can you make a time machine off that formula?
Yeah, I did. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah.
So we're ready to go, right?
Yeah, we're
see some
ready to go with
dinosaurs.
and the
Make
freeze
sure we
ray.
can get back.
Well, I got to fix the freeze ray so we have a defensive weapon. Or the shrink ray. The freeze ray and the shrink ray. It's got a selector. This is a great formula.
So, I'm about halfway through into Identified Flying Objects, the extra tempestural book, and I finally waded my way through the chapters on all the theories of time travel and the formulas and Einstein's theories, and now we're kind of back into the meat of actually something more. They're starting to be a little more entertaining, but I almost gave up on it. I couldn't read it. It's just, there's a lot of, you might like it, it's like a textbook.
Formulas, you just skip over them, basically.
Yeah, and he has it's in different writing, and so it kind of a summary of other things. Or the related, not other things.
Just read the text. I used to look at there's a lot of scientific papers, so not a lot, but ones that I used to look at. You have people that they'll derive something, and so you'll have a page of crap, and it's just you don't need to read the derivation.
I mean, of course, this is
you can check the derivation.
To.
Yeah, but you just you get to the basic. You get to the basic thing. What does this tell you? What is usually they do a text to say this does this, this does this, and you go, okay, this is what they're saying. It's not so.
Yeah, there's a lot of theory about. Yeah.
Don't get buried in the weeds. Just
it's easy to. Well, it's not easy to do because I did what you said. I skipped over a lot.
You have to. I mean, you're not going
until I find something interesting to read. But I made it about I don't know how it's going to end up, and a lot of it is at the end of the book is probably a quarter of the book was the bibliography where it says
Yeah.
where he found everything.
Yeah.
So it's because they've had like little numbers so you can cross-reference where it came from. There's a lot of that in there. This was a lot of time and effort went into this book. I
Well,
mean, I don't want to discount that. He's a
he's an academic,
PhD.
and that's part
Yeah.
of the academic process is he had to produce a book at the academic standard. So you're going to have a bibliography with footnotes and the whole thing.
Oh, did he get credit so he could have
To
tenure
keep his
still?
job, mostly, yeah. You got to keep working. You got to keep publishing, keep it publishing, publish your
This is
perish.
interesting. I mean, you can have your be tenured, and I mean on a book like it's almost like science fiction.
Well,
Even though it's a theory, I guess, about it.
he's an anthropologist, so it's an anthropological exploration,
Yeah.
and he does other things. But it's and he probably is at a university that has real tenure, although that's getting thinner on the ground now. So even with and a little bit, I did look at his stuff. So he is a serious scholar, and this is like fun stuff for him. So he does other things than
Okay.
just this. So this is just, but he's doing it at the academic standard because he's an academic. But yeah. You can theoretically as if you're at a university that has real tenure. Yeah, they've made it worse. Now essentially they're doing they've changed tenure in the state to the point where it's like every year you do a 5-year contract renewal is a standard thing. So if you're not you're not it's a joke basically. So if you're at a university that has real tenure, the idea is that once you get tenure, you can pursue any area of research. The idea is you will take chances. The problem is these days nobody takes chances anymore. You can look at
No, nobody wants to risk is kind of a loss.
yeah. So even the tenured people. So here we'll step aside. So like COVID, the universities are filled with hundreds of epidemiologists, hundreds of virologists that are just tenured. Hundreds and hundreds of scientists. Nobody deviated from the COVID narrative. No epidemiologist came out and did analysis and said, hey, we should do this and that. The epidemiologists were silent. The virologists were silent. And it's like, there's no, it's like, why? You got tenure, but the thing is, if anybody said anything, they'd lose any funding that they got. So it's, yeah, it's a mess. It's just a big mess. But yeah, I'm assuming he's at a university with real tenure, and he does do other things. This is like a portion of the actual work that he does, and it's cool stuff. Look at Gary Nolan. Although Gary Nolan had gotten pressure from the university to back off on some of the stuff that he was doing. And basically, the university, Stanford, was saying that they wanted to make sure, I can't remember the specifics, but they wanted to make sure that he wasn't doing his UFO stuff as a representative of Stanford.
Right.
So he needed to make sure that he was not, it was not the university's opinion, I guess. So it was his opinion. And they sort of pressured him. There was like an organization he belonged to or something. They pressured him to quit or something.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it was that big a deal. But
Yeah.
he pursued that stuff. But he did not pursue this stuff until he got tenure. So he probably didn't even use the words UFO.
Yeah, it's really, even though it's getting more mainstream now, I mean, there are areas I'm sure where, So also this week, I didn't send this to you, but I'll discuss it for a second. Joe Rogan interviewed Rick Strassman. He's a clinical associate professor of psychiatry. I won't play it, for the University of New Mexico. I don't know if you've ever heard of this guy. He's the New Mexico School of Medicine and author of numerous scientific papers and books. Among them, Have you heard of DMT? It's some psychological drug, the
Yeah,
spirit molecule.
there's a lot of stuff going on like that. Yeah.
But it
Pretty
was a really interesting. I didn't even finish it. It's like these things are like 3 hours. Rogan's like 3 hours.
it's
It's
too
crazy.
long. It's too long.
So I have to stop it. But I listen to it while I'm in the truck, um, going from place to place. But the guy is really interesting. He talked about the evolution of psychological. I say psychological, psychotic drug. What are they? Psychological drugs, psychotic
Psychotropics.
drugs,
Psychotropics.
psychotropic. Yeah. And then he didn't use he and Rogue because they now it's becoming now you can I know someone you can like it's on mail order. They'll mail order you this shit. You take it and you like have it's like you hallucinate and your
There's
mind opens up. I mean, the reason I
yeah.
bring it up on the show is I mean, it was discussed that it might be a tool to open up it's in your mind, and we know what portion of our brain do we really use.
Yeah.
We know, I don't know, it's hardly any of it, and maybe it opens your mind up, and that it's can maybe be a portal to another dimension. I mean, we're not going to spend the show talking this.
Acid was supposed to be a portal to another dimension. How'd that work
And
out?
they talked about people that have literally lost their minds, and
Yeah.
I know we know people that has happened
This is
too.
this is happening
And
with weed now because it's come so strong. You got these kids that will go to Amsterdam and they'll do the new weed, which is so powerful and it just screws them all up. They'll come back from their visit to Amsterdam and they're literally psychotic because they've had these experiences with these drugs.
yeah,
Um,
I don't know. I brought it up only because, I know we all know people back in the day. That's something I've never done. So I don't understand it, but I know today
well,
it's
the
weird
latest and
because I won't
greatest.
mention the person I know that did this, but they did this and it's like, you've got elves and
Elves,
rabbits
yeah,
and
rabbits, nice. Talking,
talking animals and trees and
cool, nice. Ketamine is
it
a
sounds kind of scary to me. I don't know.
ketamine is
It's
ketamine is a big drug for to be administered under semi-medical conditions for people to do whatever. I don't
yeah,
know. I mean, we've always had these drug fads, then going back for centuries, where people will do different things. And
yeah, it's like there's a dosage. It's like you have to take exactly this
yeah,
amount to get
there was a lot of
this and
it's like a lot of things where they're talking about taking different drugs to sort of enhance your intelligence and stuff. That was big in the early aughts. And
yeah.
everybody was doing drugs. Like in Silicon Valley, you're doing drugs to um, enhance your intelligence. What did I read? I was reading. Was it a show? Oh, it was a show. It was a TV show, and everybody was doing these drugs to enhance their intelligence, and it was all nonsense. It was like you take these
Yeah.
drugs and you thought you were just doing these amazing things, and it was just like you were just being a maniac. So it was hysterical, and
Like a
I
lot
mean,
of drugs.
yeah, I mean
Think you're
it is
doing
what it
something.
yeah it is what it is. Yeah, you do something, and all of a sudden you have these great insights, and write them down.
Bill
Yeah.
Burr, Bill Burr actually did. I mean, mushrooms.
Oh, he just recently
Also,
said it in one of his shows. He did it. Yeah.
yeah, he talks about it on his podcast from time to time.
Yeah.
And Joe Rogan does too, how it opens their mind. Even when they come down and everything, it's like it's cleared their mind. It's like it clears the garbage out of their mind by doing it. It's kind
You
of interesting.
you know what clears your
You know,
mind too?
uh,
Going for
what?
a walk.
Yeah, you don't have to shove any, mushrooms that have grown in,
Well,
cow shit in there, right? Or
yeah,
put it in
it's
with your, what was it when it was put it in a milkshake and
yeah,
yeah, I remember when we were in high school,
yeah,
people would do it.
there was a older woman that I was involved with sort of in high school, and she would do that occasionally. You drink a milkshake and then you throw it up. So no, she didn't do
Oh,
it. She didn't do it. She was telling me about a guy she knew that was doing it. Um,
yeah.
so
Yeah,
Um,
it's interesting, the portal thing. I found it interesting because this guy's he seems legit, and I'm
what
gonna finish listening to it.
Van
So
Tassel? Yeah, it's the whole thing. I remember I've read about the giant rock stuff, and the time machine never happened. Nothing happened with the time machine. I mean, he had a geodesic dome, and it had something in there, and he was building this time machine forever. It was like the Frugal thing on the
yeah,
Basement Office, where he financed that guy for a couple
yeah,
of years, spent several million
because he
dollars.
had he had the answer to the
Yeah,
anti-gravity and or electromagnet, whatever it was
it
that
was a
powered
spinning
the
spinning top. It's like
reverse engineering.
we're going to make an anti-gravity thing. It's because people don't understand the difference between acceleration and gravity. And it's just like they think it's the same thing. So if you spin something fast enough or in or specific orientations, you'll create enough, create a gravitational field. No, you're just accelerating crap. So it's
Yeah,
like, yeah, Frugal
the
finally,
identified flying objects book they just discussed. There's a thing back in the day they called the Levitron. I think it was a spinning top. You could
Levitron.
spin it. You could spin it. I'd like to get one of these. I don't know if we've ever had one, but
I don't know.
you spin it and it'll lift. I can't think it's called. He's got a picture of it. And it looks old. It's like came in a little wood box and it looks like a top. And you spin it.
Where is this from?
It's from the book Identified Flying Objects. I could go grab it if you got a
No,
second.
no,
I'll just
no,
go
no.
grab it.
I'll look it up.
I think it's the Levitron. I'm
Levitron. I
not
like the
sure
name.
though. And you spin it and it lifts up, and it's kind of cool. It's interesting because have you seen that thing? I've got this Death Star Debbie bought for me,
And what's
and
that?
it's got the Death Star. It's a little, Death Stars, but it's a little model of it, and it floats
No, I
above the
don't know what it.
base. You can
Oh yeah,
spin
yeah,
it.
yeah. It's got a magnet in
They're
it.
different. They've made different things for this. I'm gonna bring that in. We mothballed it, but I'm gonna resurrect it and bring it into the studio, have it floating there. Um, but yeah,
Oh,
I
it's a
can see.
toy. Yeah.
Yeah, oh yeah, it's a toy.
Oh, I
Oh, the
see.
Levitron.
I got a picture here.
I
It
mean,
comes with a
do they
video.
still sell this thing? It'd be kind of cool to have.
Amazing
Or
anti-gravity top. The Levitron.
well, it's kind
Um,
of amazing though. Really, when was that thing invented?
oh, I don't know. Yeah, it's a magnet. Oh yeah, it's got a wooden base, and then it's got a magnet in the base, which you can't see. So you spin it. Oh yeah, it's a cool toy. Yeah, anti-gravity top. Yeah,
Can you get it? Is it still for sale?
I don't know.
Why can't you?
Trademark litigation. I'm looking at the Wikipedia. The UFO
Oh.
principle learned about creative gifts. What?
It's just weird that
Sherlock.
he in this book he put a picture of it and he had this thing on there right in the middle of all this. Like, why are you throwing this in? But he was talking about like a frisbee. When you throw it, it has to all the spaceships are always flying saucers and UFOs are spinning, but they're not all spinning, are they? The Tic Tac wasn't spinning. It was going straight.
I don't
It's
know.
like a capsule.
I don't know. I'm shopping right now. Leave me alone.
Is it on Amazon? The Levitron on
I'm
Amazon.
looking at oh, it's one of these. Okay. Yeah, they got different names for them. The wooden one I think is probably very hard to find because it's like probably a collector's item. The Nature Company makes them. I think. Makes the older. You can get it at Poshmark.
You just spin it with your finger and it takes off.
Yeah, it looks like
It lifts
somebody.
up.
Yeah,
Think of that though. Think that
it's just it's a magnet.
would
It's
be
just a
cool.
Yeah, it's yeah. You can get.
They bought these stupid things that kids were playing with where they spin them on your fingers. Did you ever see those? They're out
the
now. They were
flippets. I don't know, flippets,
they.
whatever
I
they were.
never. People are like, oh, you want one of these? I'm like, no, you're neurotic. I don't know why you're using that thing. They spin it like they're too.
Yeah, I've seen those. I don't know what
It's
that.
like
I
you
don't know
need
what
to
that
be
was.
moving all the time.
I don't know what that was.
But this thing would be a lot cooler. That would be something, it'd be fascinating to spin it and have it take off.
It's just
I mean, I'm sure it's only a couple of inches off the ground, but
it's
off the
just
table
it's
or
just a
whatever.
magnet, a spinning magnet. So it's a toy.
Yeah, but it
It's a top.
levitates, right? It like lifts off like a little flying saucer.
Well, it'll sit there with if you put it above the thing, it probably sits there without spinning, or maybe it needs to be stabilized to
I
spin
think you have to spin it
to get it to
to work.
stabilize.
It's just to go sit there. That would be even cooler, but I don't think it does
But
that.
yeah, there's all sorts of toys that do that with magnetic levitation, especially now with the molybdenum magnets, the real powerful magnets.
Yeah.
I mean, there's all sorts of stuff that do that.
Well, they have those earth magnets. I know the pool pumps, so that's a
Yeah,
big
yeah.
thing. Well, they're made with earth magnets. I don't know what that is, but apparently
Don't take
they're
too big.
stronger.
Don't take too. Have you seen pictures of people showing how destructive they are? If you take two of the big ones, you don't want to put your fingers between them when they come together.
Oh, really?
Oh, they're the.
You'll flatten your hand.
Oh yeah.
That's kind of scary. So, as strong as that is, you think you could use, how you put the positive to positive, I guess it would be, and then they resist each other
Yeah.
on a positive,
Yeah. It's the same.
positive,
I think it's the
negative,
same sort of thing. Why is this so
but just think
weird?
two powerful magnets that would do that,
Oh, there's all sorts of toys. UFO LED colorful table lamp with magnetic levitating wireless Bluetooth stereo. Ooh. You could have a UFO on a lamp levitating and spinning. There's all sorts of toys out there that do this stuff.
That sounds good for the studio. That's another studio proper, I think.
Yeah, it's a cool. It looks cool. Is it still for sale? I'll send you the text.
Send it to me. I'll have to order it.
Roshan, it's expensive. It's a couple $100.
Yeah. Christmas is coming. I'll send it to Deb. Oh, yeah. Here's a gift for Christmas gift.
Oh, you can get $40 off. $40 off. It's through Wayfair. It's actually pretty cool. I actually like it. Yeah.
Shopping.
Yeah.
Shopping with Doug and Bill.
Shopping
on the
for
Alien Bill podcast.
floating magnet crap. Yeah, it's good. So, yeah, I'm screwing
like a
around.
Tesla that runs out of juice on the freeway.
Yeah, I'll have to edit some of this stuff. But
does the Tesla have a different plug? Debbie and I were having this discussion. Do they have a different plug to plug in, like when you're driving to LA and you need to plug your electric car in?
No, I think
does it have a different plug?
I think you
Debbie's like, yeah, they all have different plugs. I'm like, no, they don't. Aren't they all? Isn't there universal so you can, like a gas pump?
Well, they'll have
She says, oh no, the Tesla has a different one, so you have to go to.
Well, you have to go to you'll either. I think they have charging stations, especially in California. I'm sure you could find a charging station. Did you see the guy that did? There's a guy on YouTube that put a generator in the back of his Tesla to drive like 1,800 miles.
Oh, no.
So he had a generator in the back of his Tesla that continuously charged the battery, and when he'd stay at a hotel overnight, he'd leave the generator running in the parking lot. It's really loud, so he'd park it at the other end of the parking lot in the hotel. Yeah. And this thing would just run all night charging his battery. He got his gas mileage equivalent. He got 14 miles to the gallon doing this. Yeah. So
it's not very good.
Well, I mean, this is so I think this is a good measure of what the true measure of gas mileage on a Tesla is. Yeah. It's not 100 miles a gallon like they're talking about. I think it's pretty.
That's any electric. That would be any electric car, not just a Tesla, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
so because this
big power takes that. Well, you're not paying that though. That's somebody's. Well, I guess if your house,
you have to pay for. They charge Tesla when you charge your car up. You pay for electricity, but I don't know how I don't know what it costs to charge a Tesla. I've never seen data on that.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but electricity, when you get you got that thing in your house and you got to plug it into your car that all the tree huggers like. I probably shouldn't use that term, but I did.
Tree hugger.
And then you use electricity, right? Like everything in your house.
Yeah.
What produces that electricity? I know what it produces. I know what produces trees it?
In our neck of the woods, it's wood. We have a wood burning power plant.
But it's also, coal, or it's also hydroelectric would be okay, or wind, but it's generally not. It's generally gas powered something that's creating electricity, right?
Well, if they'd
generator,
if they'd followed through on the the big plans that they had for California in the 60s, all the electricity in the state would be hydroelectric and nuclear. And now it's
Yeah. Well,
probably, I don't know what the percentage is, but a lot of your electricity is gas or coal because you buy a lot of your electricity from out of the state. So
so
so you're a
from
coal-fired
an
electric car.
yeah, from an ecological standpoint, it really isn't that good of a car to have,
No,
even though gas cars are bad too.
don't.
But
What happens if you have an earthquake and your power grid
yeah,
goes down? What happens if, like here, you get a hurricane? What your car is useless without
well, you got a
electricity.
generator like this guy did. You
Yeah,
have it
you
hooked to your
strap it
house.
to the roof of the Tesla and drive it around, let it charge
Well,
all night.
the argument on those cars, the range between gas stations, the range on your car, I don't know what it was. I heard one time it was like 200, you could only go like 200 miles and you had to recharge it. But I don't know. I've
Teslas
never
are
looked
supposed
into
to be
that.
pretty good. I know the new Ford electric trucks, they were saying they could go,
Oh, yeah.
I don't know how far they are, but apparently it's considerably less. It's like 150 miles on the new electric Ford trucks.
Uh,
That's not acceptable. I mean,
No.
my little dinky car, I can go 400 miles, 450.
Yeah, I get 370, but mine's gas.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
of
that's,
course, I have a bigger gas tank, so I use more.
you know,
But it's
well,
like,
yeah, but you can
still
drive.
the range is there. I mean, I don't want to have to stop. Like we'll be taking a trip this weekend. I don't have to stop that often. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? It just it seems like the technology is not quite where we need it to be.
No,
But I guess
and
you're tooling around town. I mean, I would definitely have that car if I
my
didn't really go very far,
my
you know?
philosophy was that when we lived in California, what would have been ideal, except they kept anyway, California. Um, you have your electric car for just running around town. So you got something that can run
Yeah.
100, 150 miles. You just run it around town, you plug it in, and that's your around town car. And then you have your road trip car. You need to drive to
Yeah.
San Francisco or you need to drive to Monterey, you take the other car.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that for me is the ideal. But I mean, like here where I live, it's like, it could work here. It could work here. And I see a lot of Teslas, but I'm not seeing a lot of value out of these Teslas, especially since after about 5 years, you need to change the battery pack, and it costs you 30 grand.
Yeah.
It's not that's not cost effective.
Yeah. People don't think of that. I heard where the Priuses were, what is it, 100,000 or 200,000 for the battery?
Here,
You
my
had that.
first battery died at 70, but it was under warranty, so I threw a new one in. And my wife's car, the battery has gone out like clockwork every, I want to say 3 years. I can't remember. I'd have to
And
look it up.
you have an aftermarket. You don't buy that very expensive one, right?
We've put in the dealer ones, which are expensive, but now they have the aftermarket ones, which is $1,500. And that now it's if the car is in good shape, like my wife's car is in really good shape, just put an aftermarket in it. The aftermarket's guaranteed for 3 years, and they'll replace it, full replacement, not prorated, perhaps.
Right.
So now it's like, yeah, sure, just the car's in good shape. The thing's built like a tank. It'll probably get 500,000 miles, and
Yeah.
she's just like, yeah, just keep throwing batteries in it until it just falls apart. And at
Have you
1,500,
changed a headlight? Did you change a headlight on that yet?
headlights are not a problem on these things. There's tricks to changing them out, but we've never had to change a headlight. I
I
know there
heard they're
was
like $500, huh?
if you go to the
Somebody told
dealer,
me.
they charge you $500 to change it. They got sued over that. But
Oh, really?
for
Were
these
they gouging?
the dealer, I think the Toyota dealerships are just a notch below criminal enterprise. The there's tricks to
Yeah.
changing the headlights that you come in. The dealer insists on like dismantling the entire front end or something to change the headlight, but you can come in through the fender wells. You just unbolt the fender well and change it through the back, and it like takes. I've seen videos on it. It takes like a half hour, but the dealer's going to charge you $500. They got sued over that.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, it's insane. Um, but generally, I mean, like the older ones, I'm sure that they're well-built cars, but the dealers are taking you for a ride when you want to change the batteries out, but they don't tell you that. But the aftermarket, there's a huge aftermarket battery now. $1,500, you got a 10-year-old car. It's nothing, especially if it's well built. Like my
Yeah.
wife's car, it's one of the early ones. They're built like a tank. If she wants to
Can you,
keep it, we'll get 500,000 miles out of it.
can you put it in yourself?
Yeah, yeah.
I heard
The
you get killed if you don't.
You just don't lick the electrodes. What do you like an
Like we
idiot?
do with the 9-volt batteries when we
Yeah.
were kids. Oh, I
So
wonder if it's got a charge.
yeah. So the I mean,
Is it just a plug?
yeah,
It's just a plug.
yeah. The company will send you. They'll send you the battery with a return shipping label because they just rebuild them. It's guaranteed for 3 years. It's $1,500, and they with detailed instructions on how to change it. It's just like and the batteries are only like this big.
They UPSable? Or
Yeah,
do you have to freight them?
they've got to be ground. They can't. You're not going to send them on the air, but
No,
yeah.
they don't know. They'll never send that thing on an airplane.
They'll
Yeah.
and it's nothing to change the things out. I mean, I watched I was at we have a really good non-Toyota dealer mechanic that specializes in these things. And the guy's got more business than he knows what to do with, but I watched them change one out. It's 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's just like you
Nice.
just pop it out, you just open up the back. There's a big circuit breaker, you throw that, you remove the the cables, you lift it out, you put the new one in, pop the new battery in. It's nothing. You can do it at home. And the return label is provided by the manufacturer. 3-year guarantee, no not prorated. If the battery goes out in 3 years, they'll just send you another one. So, and yeah, now it's cost effective to keep one of these cars for longer than 5 years.
Yeah, we were just talking about, we bought that CRV, and I was like, man, we should maybe bought a hybrid.
No,
You know?
no.
No? Why not? Why not, Bill? So I can
No.
relieve Debbie of the tension of not making the right decision.
You don't
Why
know
not?
if you don't research what it would cost to change the hybrid battery out.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So if the dealer's got to do it, it's going to cost you $5,000. There are the aftermarket ones. What's the cost to change out the hybrid? And the hybrid, you're going to change the hybrid within up there where it's hot within 5 years. Now the Toyotas, the Priuses that we're running in San Francisco, we're getting 100,000. But what's the temperature in San Francisco year round?
It's nothing.
It's nothing. And in the higher temperatures, in these hot environments, these batteries they don't last. So in 5 years, you would be putting a new battery in it, maybe even less.
Yeah.
So if you want to, we did this with my wife's car. If you're going to look at that, you just want to keep the car because the car is a good car. The dealers really stick it to you. And we've put 2 batteries in this thing from the dealer, and we'll never do that again.
Yeah.
We'll do the aftermarket ones. And our mechanic, he's like, once we discover this mechanic, he's like, nobody likes the dealer. Nobody wants to go to the Toyota dealer. And because everybody views the Toyota dealer as a criminal enterprise.
Yeah.
So
Most factory dealers are.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah, they're just
where they make their money.
yeah. Well, and our local Toyota place, it's changed hands, but the previous owner was sued for ripping off old people.
That's fun.
Yeah, they were nice. They were very nice.
So that's your car corner.
Yeah,
And
way too much car corner stuff.
Everyone.
But yeah, the
You
giant
want to do the moment?
moment.
What?
Oh yeah, Giant Rock. We're done with the Giant Rock.
We're done with that. Was me brought that up.
There was recordings, and then there's the Levitron, which is just a toy. It's just a magnet, and it's there. You can get a nice lamp. You got the shopping corner. We got the Prius corner.
We've got the psychological effect corner.
Psychological effect, and we haven't touched on moment of contact.
Let's talk about moment of contact. I mean, it is lengthy.
Well, do you want to
Go ahead.
Maybe we should do moment of contact next week.
All right, you Fugal?
Yeah, let's talk about Fugal.
All right, let's do that, because moment of contact we're going to have to take a lot of time on.
Moment of contact. Again, if you haven't seen it and you're listening to this, watch it. It's excellent. It's
definitely, it's on Amazon. You can rent it now for $5.
Yeah, it's excellent.
So it's
I heard that I listened to an interview by the director yesterday. Fell asleep listening to an interview by the director yesterday on YouTube. But he said there's like bonus material. Was there
really?
He said there was like 2 hours of bonus material on Vimeo, or you didn't see that on Amazon. They don't provide it.
No,
Okay.
they didn't.
So,
They
but
didn't show that.
so I was curious about that, but I'll take a look. I'll take a look. I've seen the show, but I didn't know about the bonus stuff.
I don't know what extra they could show us other than the actual crash footage.
Yeah,
They
probably
were pretty extensive with
just
the interviews, but
longer
I know,
parts of the
I
interviews
know.
or something.
Well, let's save it for next. There's so much
Yeah,
to talk about, and it's very exciting. I mean, we
amazing.
were brought. I think Corey brought that one to us again. Didn't he? I
Yeah,
believe he
yeah,
did.
that's
Yeah. And
amazing.
then thanks for Corey to doing some research and giving us all the juicy stuff. He's as into it as we are on this. So
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
We'll talk about it next week, Corey. Corey's on vacation this week, by the way, so I
Okay.
won't be getting any material. So, all right, let's talk about Frugal. Skinwalker Ranch, our favorite
So,
favorite episode.
the basement office with oh, I don't know the guy's name. The basement office through the New York Post does a the guy went out and to interviewed Brandon Frugal from the Skinwalker Ranch, and apparently the guy also went out and spent the night at Skinwalker Ranch, and I guess that'll come up in the future.
Yeah, that's the next episode.
And he says he was hearing a thump. So I don't know when he's releasing
It looks
that
just about
episode.
as good as the other show.
Yeah, we'll see. So
But he wasn't believing it. The thing is, this guy, he was debunking it in the other two episodes, right? He was like talking bad about it.
he's
Isn't that
gotten
correct?
he's gotten really skeptical of Skinwalker, and he was evaluating the two books, Skinwalkers in the Pentagon and The Hunt for the Skinwalker.
Yeah.
And we've read Hunt for the Skinwalker, and Skinwalker for the Pentagon is something I want to get to. We want to get to, whatever.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So he actually went out and met Frugal. What'd you think of Frugal?
I love that.
Yeah, I thought he was pretty cool, actually.
Well, he owns Collier's, the realist.
Well, he doesn't own
realtor.
it. He's like, I guess he's
Is it a
got the
franchise or
franchise or
something?
something for Provo, Utah. So he's got a lot
Yeah.
of took the guy around, showed him all his projects that his company is involved in, and Brandon Frugal's a really big science fiction fan. Had
Oh, he's got a lot of actual studio props and
yeah,
things
some
from science fiction movies.
cool props.
Some cool stuff that
Yeah.
I'd love to have that I don't have any more room to even. This house,
Oh,
when I first moved in, had a lot of room, and as I pushed, a lot of Debbie's knickknacks out.
we don't need this.
Made
Move this
room
out
for
of there. You gotta put this somewhere else.
Well, it's kind of funny when I moved in, it was a lot of stuff on shelves and bookcases and things from over the years. And I said, "Oh, I don't want to push all your stuff out." So she goes, "I'll just select these certain things that, we want to donate things."
Make room for you.
And in the game, I kind of took over the game room. So I was kind of putting all my stuff all over the place. And the only thing left was
You
this
sent
big bookcase.
yeah,
of,
you sent a cool picture of from your game room.
oh,
I
the
thought.
is that with
With the pictures, yeah.
Shatner's? Yeah,
Yeah,
Shatner.
yeah, that was a nice.
It's kind of interesting how he's changed. It's like us. He's over the years so handsome when he was
Metamorphosing.
younger,
I don't,
and
I don't know
got
about
all my fossils put
fossils.
up, and then that area is doing good. But all this corner was just her knickknacks. One day she said, "Don't forget it." She just put all the knickknacks in a box. Let's just donate them all.
Oh, that's
That's
terrible.
And
Oh yeah, I
pushed
see
her
all
out.
your fossils. I got this picture. I'm looking at it.
I pushed her out.
You
So
you got your
she's
top
been very,
got your top
been-
shelf alcohol there.
Oh yeah, it's got a look. The guy I used to work with drank a lot of. He was a tequila fan, but he wasn't. He would only drink like a couple shots. I just wanted to try it, so he'd bring like a box of bottles, and I didn't ever drink. I don't really like tequila, but it looks good on the shelf.
Hey, I'm looking at this picture of
Yeah.
Shatner, and I'm trying to figure out: are you the one sitting down or standing up?
I'm the one that looks like him with my hand on his shoulder.
Oh, I thought there was no touching at these events. You touched him.
There wasn't. I touched Shatner.
You inappropriate
I
touch
didn't
him.
grope him. No, I didn't grope him, but I put my
Well.
hand on his shoulder, and then I told him I loved his show. Better. Did you ever see Better Late Than Never with
No,
Terry Bradshaw and Henry Winkler
no.
and George Foreman, and they
Nope.
tour they toured the world basically, and they'd go. They were on one time. They had scooters in Thailand, like
Was
kind of
this
thing.
with Shatner
It
was on
was
this?
funny. Yeah,
Wow.
it was on it.
Wow.
And
That
they
sounds
have a
cool.
handler that's a comedian dude, but he's young. So they always abuse this guy because he was their handler, and it was funny. I said, "Hey, I loved your show, Better Late Than Never." And he actually spoke to me.
He said,
He said, "Well, thank you." And
well,
he
thank
that
you.
Shatner voice. Well,
Thank you.
thank you.
Well, thank you.
I
Thank you and be
mean, we
gone.
walked out. I told Steve, I said, "Holy shit! I talked to Shatner."
So thank you and be gone. You may
Shatner, now
leave.
get
You
out
may
of here and
leave
give
now.
leave your donation at the door.
You may leave
You
now.
know?
That's a great
Let's.
picture.
I thought that was my dad. I'm not disappointed that I found my
I
real.
can't tell. I
That,
can't tell
you
you. You look
can't tell
identical.
us apart in the
You can't
picture.
tell apart. You look just like him.
We'll eventually put that picture up in the show and
Yeah.
show everyone.
So
So
Fugal
yeah,
enthusiastically invited this reporter to Provo, and
yeah, has nothing to hide as far as that.
yeah, and
Well, he has nothing to hide. He's just
Frugal is working the full Bond villain vibe. I mean,
yeah, he is.
he's got the black outfits, and he's got the black Lamborghini. And
Yeah.
I have to say his suits looked better than in the show, because in the suits I think his tailor hates him, but the stuff he was wearing in this thing looked
You
a
mean
lot
the stuff the Bella Lugosi
cape, and yeah, it's just like
cape with
his
the inside
with
was
the
red.
red. I think that's a brand, I think, and the red is like a signature of the brand. Yeah,
That's
it's just like,
awesome.
but yeah, his suits look a lot better than in the show. Lots of commercial development.
Well, his dad was, I mean, his whole family, I mean, they moved out. They did the whole,
He told
Mormon
about
thing.
their history. They moved out in 1860s from Scandinavia or something, and then
Yeah, the Frugals they showed the graveyard where it's like all them,
his dad was
it's,
mayor of a little town near Provo, and he goes out
yeah.
every day, and probably, I'm assuming he says he likes to go to the same market and get a soda every day. I'm also assuming
Yeah, and he
he
goes
goes.
in there, it's gross. It's
Yeah,
like diet Mountain Dew and mixed with
diet. Don't do
some
it.
nasty.
Don't do it.
It's
But
gigantic. I mean, this thing's like 53 ounces or whatever it
I'm
is.
assuming he's popping into town to say hi to his mom and dad too. If it's nearby, he just pops in
Yeah.
on a way to work or something and go just to check on him. His dad was mayor.
He goes in every day to that little store. The
I have,
girl's like, yep, he comes in every day.
yeah, but I bet you what they didn't show is that he pops in and says hi to his parents. I'm sure he does that.
Yeah.
So the reporter and Frugal both grew up in the church. They both went to the same college. They didn't get into BYU,
No.
which
No, neither
surprised
one of
me.
them did.
Yeah, it surprised me because Frugal
Has
seems,
money.
well, he seems like he's a. I'm surprised. So
Yeah.
I'm surprised. The guy goes, yeah, I didn't get into BYU, and neither did him, and we both went to the same. So there's so I guess after BYU, I forget what they call it with universities. There's your secondary school. I don't know what it was. I
Yeah.
can't remember what they call it. Your fallback school or something.
Yeah. It's not a JC, but it's still a regular university. But
Yeah,
it's not the big one.
it's the backup school.
Yeah.
And then they went into a brief history of the Mormon Church. And one of the things that struck me is that if you look at the whole Skinwalker Ranch saga, it seems to me that it's all Mormons. And from what I'm seeing from the background, our own experience, because where we grew up, there was a lot of Mormons. My dad helped build the local Mormon church. And it was involved as a developer in building the local Mormon church. And so you have a newer religion that was a couple of 100 years old, and there's a really strong belief in the supernatural if you grow up in the church. So all these people that are involved with the Skinwalker Ranch, I'm talking Bigelow, Harry Reid, all these people, except maybe Puthoff, who's involved with Scientology, and that's its own sort of scenario. They all are strong believers in the supernatural. So coming into Skinwalker Ranch and expecting strange occurrences, they're expecting to see supernatural events.
So they believe. So this is part of the reason
They
that they're
believe. They are
going the extra
believers
mile.
up front.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It makes a little more sense as to why they're throwing all this at
Mm-hmm.
the effort.
Yeah. So they're
I'll
up front.
call it.
Up front, they're like they're believing.
Yeah.
So, and they showed a lot of Brandon Frugal's toys, his movie props. It's great movie props. They showed his involvement with. He was involved with the guy, Famage, who is also apparently running for president. He's got a website where he's running for president.
Oh, wait. Was that the dude that had the fake company that he lost all that money? Who was that guy?
Well, he didn't. It wasn't a fake company. He was involved in one of the early internet startups, and
yeah.
that Novell, which became US Web. And then this guy had the thing where, and he said he was abducted by aliens in his bedroom. So I want.
Yeah, the board threw him out of his own company.
Yeah, which I don't think. Yeah, at the time, now he might have a chance, but at that time he didn't have a chance. So they got rid of him, and he got in contact. Somebody hooked them up with Fugal, and Fugal set him up. The guy said that the space aliens, I guess, had taught him how to develop an anti-gravity drive, and Fugal set him up in his hangar. So Fugal has a hangar where he's got his helicopter and his I'm assuming it's a leased jet.
His black helicopter.
Yeah. His $6 million helicopter. They want to make sure that it's a $6 million helicopter.
$6 million helicopter.
Is it?
His brother flies it.
He's got to trust his brother.
Yeah, and he has them when they fly into Skinwalker. They have a prayer that they pray.
Say. They pray before they land because he said that there was it's like demonic evil entities at Skinwalker Ranch. And
yeah, that's what there is.
And this guy Fromage, got him on the phone with got Fugal on the phone with General Wesley Clark, who and I guess it was Puthoff and Kit Green were involved with this. So you got all these people that all the same people are sort of moving around with the Skinwalker Ranch and the UFO things and whatnot at that. So then they just I don't know. If you spin something up enough, fast enough, it will become a gravity warp. You can create a gravity warp field. Wait a minute. If you've had a basic physics class in high school, you will know that acceleration and gravity are two different things.
Yeah.
And apparently nobody told Fugal this until he had dumped $2 million into this guy's project. But you got to admire the guy to take it. I mean, he takes chances. I like it. I really.
Just to go back to the Levitron, it just just seems like if you could get this thing to spin. Of course, you don't want to spin with it. Your center would have to be stable. But they always say, and this kind of goes back to the flying saucer Levitron spinning thing. Is there a correlation you think between? Because if you can make this thing spin fast enough and you'd be big, like you could put your body in it or bodies. And you spin it fast enough, can you get this thing to spin up to where it would fly? Boggles the mind.
Yeah, it does. But Fromage thought so, and Fugal gave him $2 million to do that.
Yeah, but they couldn't get that thing to spin.
No,
I don't know. It just seems like if you could put the whole Earth. You remember about the whole Earth
magnets
thing that we were talking about, where you could slam together so fast it'll flatten your fingers.
Magnets weren't big enough. They didn't have the technology.
I think we should, do some experiments on our own.
Yeah. You come up with the money, I'll do it. I'll set it up in my garage.
I gotta fund it. That's
you think Fromage didn't do this shit for free? $2 million that Fugal threw at this guy, and then it's just it just vaporized. And then
Fugal, we have the basic idea. Just give us the money.
Then Fugal talked to a physicist, and he's like, "What? What?"
Yeah.
He probably talked to what's his name? My buddy, Travis Taylor.
Travis Taylor.
Travis
What are
Taylor.
you doing? What are you doing, Brandon?
He probably
That thing will never work.
What are you doing? Don't you know the difference between acceleration and gravity are two different things?
Don't give me any more money.
So, oh, and I think, I don't know if I mentioned this last time when well, we mentioned it last time. Bigelow didn't give Fugal any of the documentation that they developed, because I don't think he had anything. Yeah,
nothing happened.
And then
we know it was a sham. The whole thing was he was paying people that were sending him muddy water and wood with
this,
22 million hydraulic fluid on it. And
22 million of our money went into that.
Our money went into that. Well,
and then
we were excited about it when it started.
Yeah, I'm happy to. There's so much money that's wasted by our government. Should we talk about? There's another 50 billion going to our favorite country in Europe.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's in the new budget. So it'll be 110 billion total plus whatever change they're sneaking in.
We just keep printing more money. That's the good part.
110 billion dollars. There's nothing we need that money for in this country. We don't need that money for nothing.
I can tell by the amount of homeless I have to wade through when I go.
when you go outside.
And some housing might be nice, but we don't want to get into that.
How's the train? How's the train are you taking the train down to LA? The high-speed train down to LA this weekend? Get you there in a half hour.
How many?
The high-speed rail that they.
How much did we spend on that thing before we shit canned it?
It's still It's still going.
Are they still building it?
Yeah, they're still building it.
Done.
No, they're still putting billions into it. Can't you ride on it? They've been building it for like 15 years. It's not done yet?
No, I don't think they're. I don't. No.
I can't believe it's not done. You should be able to just walk it.
On YouTube every once in a while, or wherever that on Google, where it's just sitting there. And I don't know if we're spending money. I thought it was dead. I thought they killed it.
No, they got Biden administration's giving them more money. It's not done.
No,
dead.
50 billion. You need 50 billion over here to build people.
They could have used that to finish that train.
It was going to go from San Francisco to this. It's not coming up to Sacramento area where we are, but it's going to go from the Bay Area into the Central Valley, which you have a lot of room to do that.
Yeah.
And then it's going to go down like through Bakersfield probably, and then to LA. It'd be fun. I would go on it just to ride on it.
It's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant.
It's beautiful. Just never going to do it.
It's a beautiful project.
In our lifetime. Well, did you see that they took apart over at SpaceX? They took apart that tube. They had the mile-long tube that they did.
The vacuum tube. The vacuum thing.
They did experiments on. It was supposed to be underground. Somebody told they already got that thing underground. It's going to a military base. It's going to
they're
China Lake or something, and underground. It's already built. And now they're like, we're just assembling this because we need parking.
Yeah, Tesla. Yeah, we need a parking place. Yeah, Tesla with Musk is a bright guy, and he's the type of guy that throws things at the wall to see if they stick.
He's laying off half of Twitter.
Oh yeah,
and you're not working from home anymore.
The
unproductive suckers.
The yoga instructor.
You're coming to the office.
The yoga instructor, the backup yoga instructor, and the assistant to the backup yoga instructor have been laid off.
Oh no.
Yeah, and I knew the yoga instructor at Twitter San Francisco. I used to work with him. So
no way, really? He got laid off?
He got laid off, and the backup yoga instructor got laid off, and the assistant to the backup yoga instructor got laid off. So
what are they going to do about yoga?
I don't know.
They got no.
They'll have the employees will have to pay for their yoga lessons now.
Is this one of the things where they have a campus? And they call it. And
they got a building. They got a.
And it's like you can eat all day for free.
Yeah. The whole idea in the biotech thing is that you want to create an environment. Google does this. You want to create an environment because people are expected to put in 14-hour days, and so you want to create an environment so people will eat and they'll want to stay there, and when they need to, they can relax.
Live at work.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, that's what they want.
That sounds like a great plan.
Yeah. Crazy stuff. So we've hit Fugal. We'll do Moment of Contact next week. We've talked a lot of non-UFO stuff.
Thanks for hanging with us.
Yeah.
I'm told that it's okay to do that.
Is
So
it
it's
okay to do that? Okay.
If it's not, we don't care.
Well, yeah, we do care. We do care. I care.
We do care.
Because
Okay, you care. I don't care.
we care, I care. Well, I do all this. I read all this stuff. We haven't finished talking about.
No, I don't care that we go off topic.
Oh no, going off topic's fine. But I mean, there's we didn't talk about Omni, which we've still plugging through the old Omni
It's been
stuff.
so long. I don't know if I could. You're gonna have to resend me the material.
You're gonna have to dig it out. There's more, but I sent you the last thing I sent you was the project. Oh, that was the 94 August, I think, and it was the they formally. This is like 6 months before that magazine vaporized. They were talking about the project. What do they call it? Open Book or something like that. Project Open Book, where Omni was going to seriously investigate UFOs. We'll talk about that. We'll get to that.
Yeah,
And then
we'll talk in the next episode.
And then there's always NASA press releases to go through, which we haven't talked about.
Artemis. We'll know about Artemis by next episode, right?
They're rolling out.
Oh, that's a week from Monday.
It's 17th. They're rolling out. The Artemis is rolling out now to the launch pad. It's rolling out of the building.
Well, there has to be a delay of at least 24 hours.
Yeah, so we
In
can.
fact, it has to be 48 hours because I've got a meeting on Tuesday.
Oh, okay, so we'll. Well, I don't. It's when we really want to delay, they're not going to delay.
Yeah, they're just going to fly it. It's just going to
work.
And then just before it explodes.
Yeah.
Luckily, it won't be manned, everybody, so I'm not insensitive.
Well, they have an escape capsule on it, so that it's
that would have been a fun ride.
Yeah.
Challenger could have used that.
Oh, and then
they instituted that, didn't they, on Challenger? After
there's no escape. There's no escape plan for Challenger.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Challenger, and then the other one, there was two
the
of
Falcon 5 or whatever.
No, there's two space shuttles blew up.
Yeah. One was already in the upper atmosphere when it disintegrated after that.
One blew up on launch, and the other one on return, it had a burn through because the ice came off the booster rockets and
broke its tile.
Knocked a tile off, and it had a burn through on one of the wings. It
gets warm up there.
Yeah, it gets warm on reentry. And then on Monday, or this coming week, there's the new UFO report. The classified report is supposed to be presented to Congress. It's supposed to be presented on Monday, but then there's been a delay because they didn't. They're supposed to prepare an unclassified report with a classified appendix. So the unclassified report can be released to the public, and then the security appendix is a separate thing. But when they prepared the report, they just prepared a classified report. And now, since it's mandated, they have to in the legislature that was written, they have to rewrite the classified report to an unclassified format. So it's taken them another week to release it. So we got the report, we're done, but you didn't do it right.
I'm almost not even interested.
Oh, it's
you know what I mean? Honestly, every time they do this, it's.
We'll talk about it.
We're going to talk about it, but we're going to end up talking about how it didn't say anything.
It's not going to say.
Well, there's anything. That one that said 150 out of 344 sightings were unidentified.
366. 366, yeah, 50%. And they're going on about, the thing that I find interesting is the Reaper drones. We'll talk about it next week if we got time, but we should really hit moment of contact next week.
It will.
That's
I have lots of notes on it, so I'm more ready to go.
Yeah, I didn't take any notes because I can remember everything.
Yeah.
It's like, it's in there.
Your mind's like a steel trap.
It's in there.
It
was just so.
You for that film.
I may rewatch it, but yeah, it was just so compelling to watch the whole thing.
Yeah, it's good. The modern day Roswell.
It's awesome. Yeah.
All right.
I think that's it. All right, that's it.
Thanks for listening to the latest episode of the Alien Probe podcast. We welcome questions, comments, or requests to alienprobepodcast@gmail.com. Visit us on Facebook. Check out our website at alienprobe.net. That includes all of our episodes. Twitter and Instagram at alienprobepod. Like and subscribe at YouTube. Check out Alien Probe Podcast. Should pop it right up to the top now. Our senior producer, Saigon Robert Anthony, has now touched down on the U.S. soil. So he's
Saigon.
back.
Saigon Bob.
Dr. Bill, thanks again. We'll see you next week.
The word of the week is Levitron. And
Levitron.
Levitron.
Get it.
Watch the skies.
Watch the skies.